Hi boys and girls, welcome back to today's math lesson. Mrs. Marta is behind the camera, or she was. Now she's in front. So she is here, making sure I'm behaving myself. So today's lesson, boys and girls, is on measurement. Now there's two forms of measurement in this world. There's standard measurement and non-standard measurement. Standard measurement are the ones you're kind of used to in the classroom. So a standard ruler for measuring things in centimeters or millimeters. You could, for a larger object, up the ante to a meter stick, so 100 centimeters, and measure the length of the classroom in meters. There's other forms of standard measurement as well. For example, we have the measuring tape. So if you have to measure how big someone is around in their leg, for example, so you need something that bends. So a measuring tape is also in centimeters and millimeters, but it bends. If you're measuring a field, you have something like a trundle wheel. So this is actually 1 meter around. If I took that measuring tape, wrap it all the way around, it's 1 meter, starts there, and there's a little piece of metal in the back. Every time you go by it, you'll hear a clicking sound. Watch this. We'll walk. Ready? So you start, there's the click. So now every click you hear is a meter. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a way to measure long distances and just count the clicks. Every click is a meter because every time it goes around once, it'll click for you. All right. There's also things like measuring angles. This is a protractor. You can measure 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So when you're measuring angles. So these are all standard forms and they're recognized around the world. However, there's times when you don't have access to standard measurement forms. So what could you use? So I could measure something with my fingers and go across to see how long a book is. Or I can use my hand to see how long a table is. The problem with your hands and body parts is it's really hard to get it exactly the same because you're often holding an object and you're trying to figure out where you started, so it gets tough.
So it's kind of good if you're estimating. Like I know, Mr. Marta, sometimes when we're trying to figure out how big a room is, we might measure it with your feet because your feet are about... My feet themselves are actually 1 foot in length, so standard, my foot equals that, so it works out well. Yeah.
But
that's an estimate.
An estimate, yes. So instead of using parts of your body to measure something, if we can get an object that's non-standard, for example, a paper clip, we could use a paper clip to measure a small object. So for example, if we had the book, The One and Only Ivan, and I brought over to the table, and Mrs. Marta moves the camera as a brilliant film director she is.
Oh, that was pretty brilliant.
Okay, and I want to measure how wide the book is in paper clips. So you start on the end, that's 1, and it's really important you make sure you know exactly where the paper clip ended. So I use the pencil to mark it, that's 2 paper clips. And it's just about 3 paper clips. So if you're in grade 3, you could use fractions, you could say 2 7/8.
But I think when you're measuring with something like that, you're going to say about.
You can say about 3.
About 3 paper clips
And if you went
wide.
the lengthwise, again, starting there, mark our end, that's 1 paper clip, 2, 3, about 4 1/4. So you can say about 4 or 4 1/4 if you want to do fractions. But if I was measuring the length of this table that we're at here, right here, Mr. Marta will stand back a little bit. It would take a lot of paper clips and a lot of measuring, so you would like a larger non-standard object, like the pencil, because the pencil is much longer than the paper clip, would take less measuring. So if I measured the table, I start it there, and I use the paper clip now to mark where the end of the pencil is. We have 1 pencil, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and a bit. So about 8 pencils is the length of the table. You notice how I use both objects to mark. That's really important when you're using non-standard, so you have a good start point and end point. So you can use any object around your home to be a non-standard type of measurement. So your assignment today is to pick a non-standard object. Could be a pencil, could be a paperclip, could be anything you like. And I want you to pick, or we want you to pick, 5 objects around your home using that same measurement tool. Now, if you want to use 2 different measurement tools, go measure 10 objects. So if you used a pencil for a long one, or you used your stuffy for a long one, or you used an eraser for a short one, and you want some small objects, use the eraser. Large object, use the stuffy. But you want to measure a minimum of 5 objects with your standard form, non-standard form measurement, and write down. So for example, if you measured the One and Only Ivan book, I would have said the One and Only Ivan book is about 5 paper clips or 4 paper clips wide, or whatever my number was at that point. Okay, record those and we're good to go. So 5 objects.